Topic 1.17 decimals. So we're going to round today decimals to any given place. So the information that we learned in topic 1.16 is really important here because it's all about the place value and then how to round to that place value. So we've got a couple steps that we can use that can help us. And the very first one is locating the place value of the number to be rounded. The book talks about drawing a box, which I think is a great strategy. I do it slightly different. I underline that place, but the concept is the same. And then once we have either the digit underlined or boxed in, then we look to the right of that digit. If the number is a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, that means we round up by increasing the digit by 1, and then the remainder of the digits become zeros in whole numbers, but in decimals we drop them. Okay, so we don't actually put zeros in at all on the decimal side. If the digit to the right of what you've underlined or boxed is a 4, 3, 2, 1, or 0, then we're going to leave the digit as it is and then still drop the remainder of the digits on the decimal side. If we have any digits to the left, they are going to stay the same, just as we learned in whole numbers. So let's take a look at a couple of examples. I'm going to show you my system. It's a little bit different than the book, but the concept is exactly the same. So we're going to round 9.635 to the nearest tenths place. So I find the tenths place. It's here where the 6 is. I look to the right, and I put a dot there to focus my eye. The 3 is the one that decides what's going to happen to the 6. The 3 is below 5, so it's not going to push the 6 up. The 6 will remain, and the 9 to the left will remain too. So the decimal place is there, 9 point. The 6 stays as it is, and instead of putting 0, 0, we're just going to drop the 3, 5 away. So our final answer here will be 9 6/10. For example 2, we're rounding the same number, but this time to the hundredths place. So that's where the 3 is located. The 5 is now next door to the right, and the 5 is going to push that 3 up to a 4. So the 9 stays the same, the decimal stays the same, 6 is the same. The 3 gets pushed up to a 4, and instead of putting a 0, we can just drop the 5 off. Now you may ask me, what if we do put a 0? Does that make the number bigger? On the decimal side, zeros going out don't affect the number at all. Just the same in the whole number side, if we put zeros to the left, like this, it would look weird, but it wouldn't make the number any larger. So it'd be 009.64. We wouldn't do that, right? We wouldn't add zeros to the left. It's the same concept on the right-hand side with the decimal. Just because I add these 2 zeros doesn't all of a sudden make my decimal larger. It's the same as putting 2 zeros in front of a whole number. So it doesn't hurt anything at all, but it doesn't help either to have those zeros there. And that's why we drop them when we round. So if we look at these extra examples, we can see how the answers were obtained. So we have 3.527. So we're rounding to the whole number. That 5 is going to push the 3 up to a 4. And we don't need to write 4.0 or anything like that because, again, that's not adding to the value of the number. So we can just leave it as a 4. For 15.014, we're rounding to the hundredths place. So the 4 is going to keep the 1 as it is. So we will end up keeping 15, the 0, and the 1 stays the same, and we drop that 4 off. 15 1/100th. For the third example, we're rounding to the thousandths place. So the 8 is where we look. The 8 will push the 7 up, so we'll have 0.218, and we drop off the 8 that was deciding. So we have 218 thousandths. For the next one, we're rounding to the tenths place. So we look at the 3. The 3 will not change the 4. So we will have 0.4, which is 4 tenths. And then for our last example, 8.03, we look at the 3. The 3 will not push the 0, so we leave the 8, and we can this time leave it as 8.0. I know that's the same thing as 8, but we're showing that we're rounding to the tenths place. So in this instance, it's fine to leave it as 8.0. So let's do some together, and then if you need more support, I'll be doing some of the exercise questions after this. So number 1, we're rounding to the tenths place. So we need to underline that place value, look to the right. The 5 will push the 7 up to an 8, so the 9 stays the same, decimal, 8, and we drop the 5 and the 6. Our answer is 9 8 tenths. For number 2, we're going to round to the whole number. So in this instance, we are going to drop the decimal. The 3 will not push the 4 up, so it will just be 4, and everything else gets dropped off. 4.39 rounds to 4. For number 3, we're rounding to the thousandths place. So we've got tenths, hundredths, thousandths is where the 2 is. We look next door to the right. The 9 will push the 2 up. So we're going to have 56.743, and the 9 will go away. So we have 56 and 743 thousandths. And number 4, we're rounding to the hundredths place, which is our second place. And we've got a 9 next door, which is going to push this 9 up to a 10. So we're going to make our 10. And this time, we're going to keep the 0 because they asked us to round to the hundredths place, but the 1 is going to add to the 0 in the tenths place. So we will have 13.10. And personally for me, 13.1 is fine as well. I don't mind that. I'm going to go through a few of the exercise questions now. If you'd like to try them on your own, you can stop the video, or if you'd like to do them with me, we can continue on together. So for the exercise, we're going to round to the place values they tell us. And for the first few, we're rounding to the whole numbers. So we're rounding to the ones place. So here, we're rounding to the 2. The 7 will push the 2. The 2 will become a 3, and we drop everything off the decimal. For number 2, we're rounding to the ones place. We have a 0 next door. The 0 will not push the 2 up, so 82.082 rounds to 82. And for number 3, we're rounding this 8. We have a 5 next door. The 5 will push the 8 up to a 9. And we're going to drop everything after the decimal place. I've jumped to the next section where we're rounding to the hundredths place. So number 9, we're finding our hundredths place. Tenths, hundredths is our second position. We look next door, we have a 3. The 3 will not push the 6 up. So we're going to have 2.46, and we drop that 3. For number 10, same position, hundredths place. We look next door, we have a 2, that's not strong enough. So we will have 0.08, and we drop that 2 off. For number 11, hundredths place is a 5. We look at the 7. The 7 will push the 5 up to become a 6, so we have 0.16, and we drop whatever's to the right. On to the next section, we're rounding to the tenths place. Number 17, the tenths place is where the 0 is. We have a 9 next door. The 9 will push the 0. 0 plus 1 is a 1. So we're going to go to 0.1 or 1 tenths. Number 18, tenths place is a 2. We have a 5 next door. The 5 will push the 2 up. So we're going to have 5.3, and we drop our other numbers on the right. For number 19, we're rounding to the tenths place. We have a 1 next door, not strong enough to push that 4, so we're going to have 16.4. In our next section, we're rounding to the thousandths place. That's our third position. Tenths, hundredth, thousandths. So in number 25, we're going to the 7. We look next door, it's a 3. That's not going to push that 7, so we have 0.007. For number 26, same position, third spot. We've got a 5 next door. That will push the 2 to become a 3. So 5.043, and we drop off that 5. For number 27, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, the 5 here, we look next door, we have a 3, not strong enough. We're going to end up with 5.235. For our last section, we're rounding to the cent. Whenever we're rounding to the cent for money, it's the hundredths place. So we're going to end up getting something that looks like real life in the end. So we're going to round here to the hundredths place. $3.047 becomes $3.05. That 7 pushed the 4 up to a 5. For number 34, same place, hundredths place. The 2 won't do anything to this 4, so we're going to round $15.34. And for 35, we're rounding to the hundredths place. This time the 5 will push our 3 to become a 4, so our answer will be $195.24.